On your screen right now is Naughty Dog's hit 2001 video game, Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy. If you've known me for many years, you might already know what you're getting into. If you're coming from slightly less years ago, or if you're just completely brand new, you may have no idea what you're looking at. But that's okay. All you need is some eyes, and best case, also some ears, to understand what's going on for this video. The Jak and Daxter games have some of the most intentional level design of any game in the 3D space, let alone in the platforming video game space. And the first one in the series is absolutely, like, no exception. What I mean by that is everything you see and everywhere the game lets you go has some sort of impact on the way you feel, or the way Jak moves around, or at the very least, it's some place where you're supposed to go find some of the many collectibles available in the game. Literally thousands of these little objects that you gotta walk over and pick up. So when you find yourself in a place like this, a place that is so off the beaten path or so seemingly functionless when it comes to serving the gameplay, it really makes you think. Well, it makes me think. Hopefully it makes you think. Thinking is good, keep it up. One of the first things I think about is that places like this are hard to find in Jak and Daxter, given how tightly things are designed. Levels and the explorable areas in the game are very intentionally well defined. There is very little play space that isn't utilized for something. Whether it's a main objective or a side collectible or something, it's all meant for you while you play through the game organically. So when you find something, even something small that maybe didn't have a strictly defined purpose, now has a new purpose. A purpose that only I have given it through the act of playing the game and me stopping to point it out as something noteworthy. For me, that's one of the ways you can tell when you've really started to know a video game. This particular spot can be found off of the first hub world where you begin the game, and it's in an area of the world called Sentinel Beach. Once you enter the area, you gotta cross the sandy dunes and run all the way to the other end, where you'll find 3 stepped structures. Presumably, these are ruins left to us by a distant civilization or something. Jak and Daxter is all about collecting stuff, so if you're visiting the area for the first time, you'll find no shortage of collectibles to go around. The third structure seems like it has the least attention being drawn to it, featuring only a few simple precursor orbs to grab if you so choose to climb to the top. But if you're curious and brave enough to go around the backside, or just straight up jump down to it, howdy wow, you've found one of our places in the video game. This spot has a lot going on. The ocean view on its own is quite something. You can even see Jak and Daxter's tutorial level, Geyser Rock, just chilling over there. You can tell it's Geyser Rock by the geyser that comes out of the rock. So that's Geyser Rock. Sometimes it's not the bigger picture that makes a spot notable though. It can be the small stuff, like this leaf or the seaweed. I assume it's seaweed because maybe when it's like high tide, these structures can get, partially submerged, and it could explain why no vegetation grows on the lower portion of Sentinel Beach besides like a couple of things here and there and like palm trees. See, these are the type of thoughts that a beast like me can have off a small detail like that. Not many would understand. We make an ecological inferences out here based on vibes alone. But that's not to mention that this structure has like this relief that is textured onto it. And that's seriously like interestingly detailed. This relief was made for a structure that never shows up in the game again after this. You can always come back here, of course, whenever you like, but it's not like the Precursor statues or the Precursor architecture or something that is repeatedly featured like that. Thus, why does it warrant this type of effort? Because in isolation, my gut reaction, it feels strange how much detail goes into something small like this, something we'll never ever see again. But if you ever played Jak and Daxter before, you know there are seemingly inconsequential but very, very cool details everywhere in the game. At least for those with the eyes to see them. Especially since this is Naughty Dog we're talking about. Also, this is kind of like a cock and ball, you know what I'm saying? You know? Our next location should be recognized by a large portion of our Jak fans in the audience. You can find this place coming from our first hub, again, Sandover Village. Make sure you go through it, walk all the way to the opposite side, and you can get to the Forbidden Jungle. So now that we're in the Forbidden Jungle, we're looking for a very specific river. So there it is. So there's a river right here. You can jump down and you want to follow this river all the way to its very end. And at the end of this river, you'll find that it breaks into the ocean. And in the ocean is this rock platform. Now, if you follow my instructions exactly as explained, no more, no less, this is our second place in Jak and Daxter that I'd like you to see. The difference between this spot and the last spot is that this area is directly acknowledged by the developers. They wanted you to come here too. I'm sure you can't imagine why I say that right now, but on your very first visit here when you're playing the game, there are orbs just under the surface of the water and a power cell sitting on the actual platform rock itself. Back on Sentinel Beach, it was an incidental product of the placement of different assets onto a plane of existence. This spot is meant to be here, and you are meant to go here to find the collectibles. It was created just for you. I don't think that the devs wanted you to stay here very long though. In Sentinel Beach, the open ocean has much more for you to see and to feel. Over here, the ocean view is totally empty. It's kind of eerie in like a backrooms way. Dare I say the L word? F it, dude, I'm saying it. It's liminal to me. It's unnaturally empty in the way that the video games of the more contemporary type try not to be. But in this case, it's a visual language. It's as if the game is telling you to stop now. Everything interesting is now back behind you. Turn around, there is nothing to see here. Even up to the point where getting in the water in front of the platform instantly triggers the out-of-bounds shark that everybody hates for a good reason. It's very, very scary. But since we are the player right now, we can control the buttons that we press, regardless of the visual language that is being spoken to us. We can reject their offer and just stand here. The longer you get to be in this spot, the more strange it becomes. With no collectibles around, it's an empty, functionless horizon accessed by a rock. And it's kind of a reminder that you have the burden of free will and choices in this world. And yet, you choose to look across an ocean of nothing. But who's to say that you should be doing anything else? All right, I think we're allowed to take ourselves to someplace a little less existential, hopefully. So Misty Island is a short boat ride away from Sandover Village, and it's featured in the opening cutscene of the game and mentioned by other characters. So we're kind of going to this place and we're already expecting a hostile and scary environment. And to me, there's nothing more hostile and scary than when textures and models split away from each other and the underbelly of a digital world is revealed to us. Wow, my immersion is shattered. I don't believe this. Naughty Dog, please fix. Sony, come get your mans and pay cut all the devs. Sony, lay off thousands of more devs. Microsoft, close more indie studios and raise prices. In all seriousness, how the heck did I even get here? Well, you might think that I just came around this lower beach side that comes from one of the branching paths on the island. But nah, I was actually coming out of this like precursor arena area And then I was looking for like a spot. I was exploring and I was looking for some other spots and I was like, huh, this rock looks like a cool place I could stand on and be like, wow, don't you guys want to stand in this corner and be hidden? And then the game said nah. And then I fell. And now I see the void. And that crucial mistake opened my eyes to this piece of the world that slants off into the void. It doesn't curve around into the rocks all the way, and you can see under it just a little bit. It's weird, but you can't swim under it. So they put an invisible wall here, but they didn't finish the texturing and the mod, like they didn't just stretch the model a little bit. I don't know, what do I know? But accidentally falling into something like this is like coming across a misspelled word in like your textbook or something. It's a mistake that is just so inconsequential to the overall piece of work, but it's like kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like, you know, a number of fellas built this bad boy by hand, and fellas are just people at the end of the day, and people are bound to make some mistakes. And when the mistakes are something so small like this, to me, that adds like an overall charm to the piece of work it comes from. The human touch is ever present for those with the eyes to see it. Our next spot is a bit of a drive away, but once you've progressed the main objective enough, you unlock the ability to reach the Rock Village. Now, compared to Sandover Village, it's clear that the Rock Village was in a bit of trouble. Especially on the first time that you were able to get here on your initial playthrough. You know, they got some dude hurling flaming boulders and all that. He's not really important. But basically, like, smack dab in the middle of this area is a bit of a hangout spot for the villagers. And if you turn right, those villagers aren't really here right now. They go to a different school. But this particular spot I like over here is the attached seating area with the dock thing on the water. In a regular playthrough of Jak and Daxter, you might prance through this area, you break some barrels maybe, you grab a scout fly before jumping across the rafts to go to the lost Precursor City that's right over there. And I bring you guys here just because I think it's a nice little place that games use as essentially like set dressing, as an area that you'll just end up running right through pretty quickly for the most part. Even the fact that the plates are left behind and cups are knocked over and they're spilling their juice, it's a bit of world building that's nice to ponder about. It's like the people got out of here quickly and nobody has come back or stayed behind to clean up yet. Probably has something to do with that fella launching flaming boulders all over the place. They don't call it Rock Village for nothing. This spot reminds me of another game, weirdly. It makes me think about the cantina from LEGO Star Wars, with the tables and the cups and the plates. While the LEGO Star Wars ones are pretty interactable, they fill a similar purpose of making the area feel like a place people go to and eat food there or whatever, but it's really a transitionary space to get you to the next level. Another example, I guess, is like, we're given these big rope spools to look at, and it being really close to a dockside, maybe they're like fishing boats that were once in Rock Village and they ship out, and then when they come back they'd be so close to a resting place with food. The bigger picture could be like the devs were world building a society that values those who go out into the uncharted waters and presumably feed the rest of the village with fish. This feels like a place that you could hang out at if it was a normal day and not a Jak and Daxter adventure, and it wasn't thunderstorming and all that. Also, a bit of a bonus, remember when I talked about jumping on these rafts and going to the Precursor City? You know, I've played Jak and Daxter probably like a dozen times, but I've never noticed that there are wind chimes between the rocks and the water. For years, I would hear these chime sounds, and I would never even think twice about it. But now I'm realizing that they have like an actual diegetic sound source that the devs built into this level for us to hear. And it's such a fitting sound for the environment and for the vibe you feel as you approach such a mysterious structure. I think I can call this a perfect example of atmosphere and creating mood using that environmental ambiance. It's an audio-visual landscape, man. From now on, I will never forget these wind chimes, and I think that is something powerful. So one other spot that I wanted to go to might bring back some memories of our second spot, the one from the Forbidden Jungle. You can go back and look if you forgot already. But we're still in the Rock Village at the moment. But this next spot is located in the Boggy Swamp. Boggy Swamp is actually a hotly debated subject. Lots of people, many folks call this the best level in the entire game. I'm not going to give my opinion on the matter. Boggy Swamp is not so much of a design that needs backtracking and retracing like a lot of other levels, but is actually very linear, and it loops back around to the start when you get through it. So if you do everything here, towards the end, you'll end up passing one of the two very small docks eventually. If you know that you're looking for them, they're pretty hard to miss. The reason I picked these spots is that there's something about places where you can just look out into nothingness. Well, it's not exactly nothing. It's still an animated water texture and a thunderstorm sky texture and some rain. But there's nothing to do with that information besides look at it and say, that's an animated water texture and a sky texture. But it kind of makes one question, like, why did Naughty Dog add these docks here? I wouldn't call it functional, like the one in the Forbidden Jungle, because at least that earlier Forbidden Jungle spot had collectibles at one point chilling out there. The little world building that these docks serve as is there if you reach for it, but you really gotta be reaching for it. Boggy Swamp only inhabits one human as far as we know. And does this fella have a boat? I don't know. He doesn't really seem like the type. Tell me in the comments if you think this guy has a boat. See, like if you remove the spot, like not much is lost from the game. Not much except, I guess, the ability to stand exactly here. And I guess if you want to stand exactly here, then this is the spot for you. I tell you what. The hell, that fucking frog was moving. I think I only have a couple of stops left now for you guys. When you play the game organically as Jak and Daxter, the game continues on. The levels get tighter and tighter. I mean that both the physical space becomes more compact, and the levels have way less spectacle, and then they slant towards having a much greater focus on making sure that you can actually do the platforming that the game is about. That doesn't mean that the later levels are worse. They're just good at different things because they have different reasons to exist and different things they are trying to ask of you. That doesn't mean we can't find any places though. So after you've completed everything in the Rock Village area, the game will then let you progress to the volcanic crater. And in the volcanic crater, there's a gondola that can take you up to Snowy Mountain. The Snowy Mountain level is treacherous, you know. We're probably near one of the highest points in all of the world of this game. Like really, really high up, I think. And this spot we're going to reminds you just how high up you really are. Now, I always love these things that video games do, especially the older ones. It's a thing because games require memory to hold things on your screen while you're playing, and only so much data can actually be stored on a disc that we play the games on, and then so many other hardware things that someone smarter than me can elaborate on in the comments. Well, in order to do all of that without games imploding in on themselves and exploding your console from the inside out, devs will create low poly and essentially miniature versions of the thing they are trying to represent. Stick that in the distance, and you and me, we're none the wiser. In real life, a thing that's far away from you can only be perceived in so much detail, and you will perceive the thing as being smaller because you can see more of it due to it being far away. So in a video game, your brain subconsciously uses the context of your area, being high up on a mountain, to trick you into thinking that something green and shrubby and small and low in detail is actually like a really big tree for a forest that is just far away. Like these down here. You can also see some really large structures really far away. Like I think that's supposed to be the blimp from Boggy Swamp. And that is supposed to be something. Maybe the tower where you fight the first boss in the Forbidden Jungle? Could be, I don't know. The first time this was something that I realized what that was being done to me, that I was being fooled by Big Dev, was in Infinity Ward's smash hit 2009 video game, Modern Warfare 2. Not to be confused with Infinity Ward's terrible 2022 video game, Modern Warfare 2. As a 10 or 11 year old, I remember exploring what was my favorite multiplayer map at the time. That took place in a Brazilian favela. That map was succinctly named Favela. If you use tips and tricks to get outside this map or simply fly around with the built-in spectator mode, you will find that many of the structures, objects, and environmental details that you see off in the distance are actually just small-scale versions of their real-life counterparts. At 10 or 11 years old, this exploded my mind. And that's exactly what is going on here in Jak and Daxter. I'm being tricked. I'm being fooled. And I like it. How dare you, naughty dog. As your punishment, I will be moving on to our next spot. Alright, I think that this is the final spot I'll be bringing us to today. And I'm already here because I'm trying to gatekeep this video game. If you want to explore more of this world, I highly recommend playing Jak and Daxter. PS2s aren't so common anymore, but emulation is. You can buy it for emulation on the PS3, the PS4, and the PS5, and you can play it on PC for free if you're smart. Get to it. In order not to spoil too much, we are on top of a silo, and when you get here for the very first time, it's just after playing through the final level, right before beating the final boss. And that is when this place looks its absolute best. In all my years of playing Jak and Daxter, I never really thought to just stop and walk around. After the elevator brings you up, not a whole lot goes on up here. There's a door up here, and it's a door that can only be opened once you finish the game and have collected all of the game's main collectibles, the 100 power cells. And also when you're up here for the first time, there's a haunting purple sky. It's a deep purple that reflects the dark eco that is trying to be unveiled by our final boss. And also it's a similar purple that appears on the screen when you first start the game. It oozes all over the screen while the opening monologue by Samus is happening. I always love when a game or like any piece of media starts and ends on similar themes, visual or otherwise. Lots of neat things happening up here that the trained eye would be amused to find. Like I'm pretty sure, there's Snowy Mountain over there. And I think that's the Zeppelin from Boggy Swamp. Yep, that's what that seems like. And that one tower over there that I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that was when I saw it last time. And there's stuff like this stuff is things that you're only meant to look at. You know what I mean? Like you can't do anything with any of this stuff. You can't go here. I mean, you can go there, but that's for the fight. But I do think it's cool to see where you've been. That's awesome. These objects that they put here, like they're just living out their purpose. It's truly inspirational. They decided it would be better to allow us to see what the world is like, what is out there. And that choice makes you feel high up, Being really tall and really high up is what mattered when designing this arena, so they made it happen. That's what people do, man. They make it happen. Alright folks, I think that's all I got for Jak and Daxter today. This is a game that I do highly recommend. Play it not just for the love of these PS2 era platformers, but also because you want to play a well-made, relatively simple, but good old-fashioned video game that can be fully completed in an afternoon if you really wanted to. It's one of the reasons I even made my channel. It's like, this game, my first ever video was about this game years ago, and I always think about it from time to time. And I thought this video was a way I could come back to it with a different spin on it. So if you enjoyed this kind of video, do leave a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I've been interested in making something like this for a while, and I'll probably end up doing more of it, whether or not you like it. So if you want to see more of it, subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind. Also subscribe because it makes me feel good inside. Folks, I've been Moonsout. I hope to see you all in the next one.
You